Hey guys, so we got our pigs last night. Real nice guy actually, a place called CEH Farms up in I want to say he was up in like Centerville, Alabama, but he delivered them. He ended up giving us a little bit of a discount because the pigs were late, but they had scours, and so he wasn't ready to bring them. But they had lost a bunch of weight. You know, he wasn't thrilled with the quality of them, and I told him not to worry about it. I said, you know, we're going to put weight on them. As soon as we get them, they'll start gaining weight because we're going to put them in this little pen, and and we'll start getting them some feed, some good quality feed, and so they'll make weight just fine. And I wasn't worried about that at all. So as long as they make it through these first, I don't know, this first week or two here, then they'll be okay. Hear any coughing or anything from them, we got to immediately get them some antibiotics because pneumonia is real bad down here. So immediately you hear coughing, you get the pigs antibiotics and a vaccine. It's just how you got to deal with it, because if you don't get ahead of it real quick, they won't survive. Pneumonia is almost 100% fatal to piglets. Anyways, here you go, you guys. Y'all can see what we got here. Let me show you how we set this pen up. And so if you're looking at raising a couple of piglets for you, so here's our pen, and you can see that's the feeder we made out of an IBC tote. Works really well. Holds around 1,500 pounds of feed. And we got another video showing exactly how we did that. You can see the metal sheet blew off the top of it, so I got to re-secure that down. And I put those bags up there because we had some extra. It'll take them a while to go through this, but they'll be in this pen until they go through 1 ton of feed. That's kind of the rule for moving them and everything. They'll be in here until they go through one full ton of feed. Now here we've got our waterer, so this just has the little pig nipples there at the bottom. He uses pig nipples for his piglets, so these guys were already trained. If they're not trained, the easiest way to train them is to jam a little stick in that nipple and get it just dripping just a little bit, and they'll come find it when they get thirsty, and it works every time. Once one of them finds it, the rest will find it. They're smart enough, so you ain't got to worry about it, but it works. Those nipples work pretty well. Keep a spare supply of them on hand, keep rubber grommets, everything, and usually what we do is we actually keep a spare one of these 55-gallon drums ready to go, because they especially as they get older, they get pretty rough on them, and they'll rip those nipples right out of there. So no matter how well you put them in, their pigs are strong. But you see Fraser's interested in them. So this pen here, this is 32 by 16, so 2 cattle panels on either side lengthwise to make a rectangle, and then one at the end. And then over here you can see we just built the gate out of the cattle panel and a T-post. A pretty inexpensive way to set up a pig pen. That IBC tote's going to be used for watering them next year. I didn't set that up in time this year, but I'm going to run some nipples across the on a piece of iron pipe there, and that'll make them a little bit more sturdy, and that's what they'll be using for water next year, but or maybe later on this year. But anyway, so this is kind of where we're at. Those IBC totes are nice. It is hard to find the connections for them and everything. I just don't know anything about that. So if anybody knows, post down in the comments. I'd love to see, you know, how to get a pipe that basically hooks to the nipple there, because it looks like there's different sizes and everything. I don't even know how to begin on those, but this is a really easy way to raise pigs. Now, if you were just going to do 2 pigs, you could actually raise them out in this space for their entire life. Not ideal, but you know, commercial operations, they'll raise, I don't know, about 10 pigs in a space this size. And they don't add the bedding or anything to them. They just they're on a grate, and their urine falls through, and the feces ends up building up, and that's where they put them on antibiotics and everything's pretty nasty conditions. If you wanted to do this in a nice healthy way for the pigs, and you're on a small piece of land, the way to do it is to put you a piece of hot wire over there along the side, like how we got. You can see right about there we got that hot wire. And that hot wire is going to train them, so they'll get trained to the hot wire. And then you could use that hot wire to give them a little bit of pasture space. They don't need much, especially just for 2 pigs. Yeah, they're just kind of fun to watch. There's their little house over there, so they can go into while they're young and get out of the weather. But anyways, if you train them to that hot wire, and then once they're trained to that hot wire, pigs are pretty sensitive to the electric charge on it, so they'll stay away from it. So Once you get them trained to that, then go ahead and just you can let them out on a little bit of pasture. So if you're even on an acre and a half and you just have a yard area to let them out in, you can set that up and then put them back in the pen at night. Getting plenty of some type of mulch bedding here. So hay works really well, old hay. That's what all this is. You can deep bed it. And so basically what you do is you put a couple inches, about 6 inches down or so of this hay. And then as they soil it, then you just add about 6 more inches at a time, and they'll compact it down. And then when you're done, you just go in there and clean it all out. You can clean it out with just a pitchfork, or if you got a tractor, that's a lot easier. But you just clean it out, and then that's great for your garden and everything too. You can compost it, however you want to do it. But this is how you raise pigs on small land. Now for us, like I said, they'll be in here until they go through 1 ton of feed. That'll get them to about the size I want them, to where they'll hit the bottom wire on the electric fence all the way around, so they won't be able to get out of our fields. And then after that, we'll just put them in the forested areas over here, so areas that we've cleared. So you see like that brush pile down there, we'll move them down there into areas like that. I don't want them here on the grass because I don't want them screwing up the grass that we're trying to get established. Or we'll move them up here to this forested area. And then pigs are a little bit more sensitive to the sun, and so you want to give them some shade too. So anyway, so we'll move them around. They'll eat up the acorns and stuff like that. They'll rip up any of the smaller trees, the small sweet gums and things like that. They'll rip them all up. But remember, pigs are prey animal, are not prey animals. They're the victims, right? So you want to give them some protection. So pigs, I don't, as a general rule, like to put them out on new established pastures. I want to put them on areas where we've got that high tensile electric fence, and it goes all the way around this 5-acre paddock here. So we've got some protection from wildlife, and it's not ideal. Obviously, coyotes and stuff can get through it, but this gives them a pretty good amount of protection. So eventually, what we'll probably do is actually run a hot wire across the top of this, just to keep anything that may get in here out. But the cows are in here, and not much messes with them anyway. So anyways, guys, that's about all. I just want to show you how to raise pigs on a small piece of land. If you got a lot of land, you can really get them rotating around on some pasture and have some fun. But if you've got even an acre and a half, you could raise a couple pigs for yourself and some friends and family. Remember, pigs always get raised in pairs. You never raise them alone. So 2 or more always. They will. They don't do well. They won't put on weight well because they're not competing for the feed. And so you need that competition. So you always raise a minimum of 2. Never do 1. And you can even make this area smaller if you were just going to do 2, 1 for you and maybe a lard pig or something like that. Like that's what I would do if we weren't selling them. I would do 1 probably for us, and then I would raise a lard pig, and then the lard pig will give a little bit of meat, so I get about 1.5 pigs worth of meat and a bunch of lard. And if you were doing that, I would just do 4 cattle panels. 16 by 16 is plenty for just those 2, and then again you can rotate them out during the day and put them back in there at night. It takes anywhere between 6 and 8 months, depending on the breed, to get them to full to full weight. 6 to 8 months after weaning. We usually raise ours to about 7 months. We found that gets them to around 300 pounds. If you start going over that, you start going to 8 months, you run into problems of them converting most of that to fat, and so it's not quite as efficient. Not going to matter so much if you're just raising 2 pigs. And again, if you want the lard, that's a great thing. It's part of the reason why we do it. But 6 to 8 months, 7 months, we found to be ideal. 6 months. Yeah, they're at commercial weight, so they're going to be above 250 pounds more than likely, but they're still, I don't know, they're still just not quite enough. And then that gives those ones that are kind of the runt a little bit more time to get some weight on them. So I like our pigs to be over 300 pounds. Our average right now is like 328, I think, so I like them to be a little bit bigger than that. Anyways, guys, I just want to show you guys how to do this as food becomes more scarce and we have more and more issues finding it. Small plots of land, you can raise some livestock for yourself. So we'll talk to y'all later.